Autumn makes me feel a little philosophical. It also has an air of romance and mystery about it too. At first glance it looks as though nature is surrendering to dark malignant forces, the shorter days and the colder wind that now nips our faces. Leaves wither and fall, flowers and plants also diminish, some even to disappear altogether. The scene looks barren, hope is only hidden and nourished. Everything has merely returned to the earth, to the land that is rightfully claimed. However, I see it as a first phase in rejuvenation. It's letting go of things that are no longer needed and returning to the source. And it's a means of survival that nature has used for millions of years and will continue to do so, I'm sure. Now, I've witnessed 60 years of seasons coming and going. Some colder than others, some warmer, but always in balance. Autumn also brings with it two events that I always look forward to as a boy. Halloween, when supposedly the physical world and the spiritual world come close together and ghostly deeds happen. It's a British tradition, but it has its origins in Europe, and now involves children going door to door asking for sweets, etc., although this seems to be less popular these days in favour of family parties. When I was a lad, a few of us kids from our street would go knocking on doors dressed in whatever looked old and grotty or weird. Some of my friends were lucky though, and their mums were handy at sewing, so they might get a scary costume stitched together out of bits and pieces. There were no off-the-shelf costumes in those days. And Trick or Treat, an American import, didn't reach our shores until the 1980s, so when anybody came to the door when we were doing it, we'd just simply say, "Happy Halloween," looking like God knows what in the hope of a few sweets or pennies. And this is followed by Bonfire Night. Now this is a uniquely British event that celebrates the failed attempt by Guy Fawkes to make his views known to the government of 1605. Now I'm not sure if making bonfires still happens, but back in the day, all of us kids in the neighbourhood would actually prepare for Bonfire Night or Bonnie Night well before Halloween, usually at the end of September all the way through until November the 5th. And we would collect up any and all wood we could lay our hands on to build our Bonnie on an area of abandoned land near the back of our street, and this is the actual piece of land here. We would go around the neighbours knocking on doors asking if they had any unwanted wood, and carrying, dragging and wheeling it to our Bonnie. Chairs, old sheds, tables, you name it. And some of the old railway line sleepers, the bits of wood that supported the tracks, were still lying around on old abandoned lines. They were really heavy though, so the older boys or our dads would dig them up for us. And those sleepers were full of oil and pitch and would literally burn for days. Most years we collected so much wood that the bonfire ended up huge. And it seemed like something that only us kids did with hardly any input from our parents. But looking back now, I know that we were being watched from a distance to make sure that we were okay. And I know this to be true because one year the bonfire got so big while we were building it, we decided to make the inside of the bonfire hollow and make a camp inside. And the next day the camp was filled in by the grown-ups before we finished the school for the day, with a stern warning not to do it again. Everybody participated because everybody would keep wood to one side for us to collect long before we went round asking for it. A few days beforehand we would borrow a wheelbarrow and put the smallest kid in there dressed in old clothes and go door to door again, penny for the guy. And any money we got went towards buying fireworks. And Bonfire Night was a proper community affair. Everybody from the surrounding streets, young and old, would gather round the bonfire and put the guy on top, which is essentially a scarecrow, if you like. Everybody brought their own fireworks, but they were handed over to whichever grown-up put themselves in charge of setting them off. After a couple of hours, the fire was cool enough to be approachable, and we would throw some potatoes into the embers close to the edge, and we'd leave them in there for about 20 minutes or so, rake them back out, peel back the scorched black red-hot skin and eat the best baked potatoes you've ever tasted. Back home we must have looked like we'd survived Armageddon. Red eyes from the smoke, black lips and hands from eating bonfire baked taties, and smelling like an ash pan. But we had a sense of achievement, of giving the community something, and adding to the cohesion of our community. Seeing all the happy faces round that bonfire that our gang built was priceless. Thank you for listening to this video. Please hit the like button, and happy Halloween.